Hi everyone and welcome to day 8 of Cavemas. I'm actually going to have to back out so that you can see my tremendous hat today. Oh, right, there we go. I'll kind of sit like this. I kind of feel like an extra from some like weird Alice in Wonderland film or something with this. Anyway, welcome to day 8 of Cavemas. Absolutely wonderfully glad you could join us again today. This particular video was actually prompted by a caver comment, and somebody had asked me about the Castle Arts gold pencils and I had absolutely no clue, so I knew that I should very much investigate that. And having already tested the soft touch pencils, which I actually enjoyed very, very much, there's links to that video down in the description if you want to watch that first, because today is more of a sort of comparison rather than a specific review of the Castle Art gold pencils. So the idea behind this video was to give you some information in case it's something you've maybe seen in passing, or maybe seen in a flash sale or something and thought, well, are they any good? That's what I'm here to do, and help you decide between the two and just give you some information. So I hope you find this video informative today. We shall now go to top down view and we can get going. I'm actually going to go out with this hat on today, I think. Okay, so we've got no table scatter today, and it's just because I need every square inch of space that I can muster up for this. So, here are my two sets of Castle Arts pencils. I have had the original 120 soft touch pencils for about, I want to say, a year and a half, and I have just got my mitts on the gold set as well. So I'll talk just a little bit about these pencils individually, but really the idea of this is a comparison type video. So the first thing that I want to talk about is the price. Obviously this is prices in the UK and prices are pretty unstable just now. This is just a ballpark. But when I looked, the thing that struck me was there was no rhyme nor reason to whether these pencils were cheaper on Amazon or from the actual Castle Arts website, and that seemed to be interchangeable. So if you are in the market for some of these pencils, I would check both places regardless of where you are in the world, because some days one is cheaper than the other and then the next day it can change. So at the time of filming here, the wax pencils, which is the original soft touch pencils here, you can buy these in a tin like this, and for the 120 set they were £55 on the Castle Arts website and they were £50 on Amazon. So you can see they're cheaper on Amazon. For the case of pencils, so that's like the zip up pencil case, or the fabric case with all the little elastic slots in, the same set of pencils was £60 on both websites. With the gold pencils, the ones in the tin like this, these were £65 on the Castle Arts website and £70 on Amazon. And for the zip up case one, they were £75 on the Castle Arts website and £80 on Amazon. So it seems that at that particular juncture, the oil-based gold pencils here were consistently cheaper on the Castle Arts website than they were on Amazon. So that's just a little precursor for you. Both tins are the same in the sense that they're the same size. Obviously, they're housing the same number of pencils, and they're the same depth, and they've got the same trays in them as well. So if I open this up, you can see that the gold pencils are blue inside, and I will open up the soft touch pencils, and these ones are black inside. Now the first thing that's kind of struck me with this is obviously I'm more used to the wax based pencils, which is the soft touch pencils, and from this point I'm just going to refer to the soft touch pencils as the wax based ones and the gold pencils as the oil based ones. In the wax based pencils, the inside of the tin lid has the colour list with the colour code, and they are in a very sensible order. So it starts at a very pale yellow, yellow goes into orange, orange goes into red, red goes into pink and purple, purple goes into blue, etc., and so on and so forth. And then the earth tones are at the bottom here, like the neutral tones, after the greens and before black and white. That's quite a standard setup for these pencils. Whoever decided on the order for these oil-based gold pencils must have been taking something, and I'm being deadly serious here. This makes no sense at all. I've tried to make sense of it as in, was it done in like by saturation rather than colour? Was it done by colour code? And the answer is no. And here's what the swatched out colour chart looks like. It's a freaking mess. We go from green to orange to yellow to grey and white, and then we go back into yellow. We kind of don't really deal with orange, but we do like the pinky peachy colours. And then we go into red and pink and a little bit of purple. We go into a blue, and then we go back to mint green, and then we go into blue again, and then we go back to green. It's an absolute mess, and the worst of it was, this colour chart is in the same order as the way they're listed in the tin. The pencils weren't even in the same order as what was going up on here. It took me hours just to swatch these out to see what they're all about. So I did not enjoy that aspect of these pencils at all, like not even slightly. Right, okay, so the next thing is, let's take a look at the pencils side by side. This colour chart's not very helpful, and I'm terribly sorry about that. I kind of wished I'd done them in a more sensible order. So let's look at the physical aspects of the pencil. Now, one thing I have done is I have picked out some pencils that have the same colour names across both sets. Now, I'm going to talk a bit more about that in just a second, but I've got two pencils here. So to take a look at the physical differences between the pencils, the barrel sizes, the barrel diameters seem to be the same. The wax-based soft touch pencils are black with a dipped end that says soft touch on it, and when we turn the pencil round, it has the colour name on the barrel and also a colour code, which is a numerical code. So this one says 030. It's got this little silver band and the writing is in silver. When we look at the oil-based pencils, the writing is in gold and they're called the Castle Art Gold pencils, so that kind of makes sense. So it says that on one side, and when we turn it over, it's the same as the other one. It has the name and the colour code. And what is quite interesting is these pencils are both called Purple Light. They both have the same code, as in 030, but the gold pencil has GP after it, and all of the pencils in that set have that there. It's also got a gold end on it, which I don't think is particularly helpful, but it's a nice touch if you're looking at your pencils, you know. Anyway, minor point. But what interests me more is these two pencils have the same colour name and the same colour code. The dipped ends are a different colour, and if I show you close up, you might be able to see a bit better. The colour correction might not kick in so much. The Purple Light from the wax-based looks pretty pink compared to the one that is in the oil-based set. I have not swatched these out side by side, and I've deliberately not done it because I wanted to do it in the video. I am interested to see whether they've just done a better job of matching the dipped ends with the core colours in this newer set, you know, as if they've had like a second go at it, or whether these are two completely different colours despite having the same colour name and the same colour code. When I look at the cores look significantly different. The one in the oil-based set looks really, really dark compared to the other one, which also matches up with this darker dipped end. So that's one of the things that we're going to look at. So that's the physical differences between the pencils. In terms of the actual sets themselves, there are overlaps in those colour names. The Purple Light's just one example, there's lots of them, but there are also colours in the gold set that do not exist in the wax set and vice versa. So there are some unique pencils in there. I'm going to show you some of that here. So here's our slightly erratic colour chart, and here is my very regimented swatch book, and there is the Castle Art pencils there. So even if I look at this first set of colours here, they're kind of spread out all over the place. So we've got some of these yellows here, and we've got a couple over here. They've put them more sort of earth tones. There are far fewer blues and purples in this oil-based set, and there are many, many, many more greys. Whereas if you look at the greys in the wax-based set, that is basically it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Whereas here we've got, well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There's lots of different ones. And I noticed that quite a lot of the colours are, they're much more muted and a lot earthier. The earth tone colour selection, so your browns and your sort of ochre colours, is much, much greater in this set as well. So I don't know whether they're trying to appeal maybe more to portrait artists, whereas perhaps these wax soft pencils were geared towards adult colourists a little bit more. You can speculate that on yourself, but I just think the colours are much more bright, rich and vibrant in the wax-based set. And there are far fewer muted darker tones than there are in this oil-based set that's the more recent set. One of the colours that stood out to me straight away in the oil-based set here is this Venetian Blue Deep. And it is a really nice colour. It's not really blue. It kind of sits for me somewhere between a Payne's grey and an indigo perhaps. Really nice colour. There's also supposedly a lighter version, but that looks very purple to me. Those colours are just examples of ones that don't exist in the wax base set as well. And one pencil that sticks out as well, this is the mint green light in the wax base set, and it is almost identical to the normal mint green. The mint green light in the oil based set is absolutely gorgeous. It's so delicate, it is lovely. So I think they've reworked a lot of the colours, and you can feel one of two ways about that situation. You can be in the camp of, oh, that's great, they're improving their colour range and they're offering something a bit different, which would make it worthwhile to buy a second set of Castle Arts pencils. Or you can look at it as they're coming from the same manufacturer. The colour should be consistent across the ranges regardless of the genetic makeup of the pencils. The thing that strikes me with that is the likes of Faber-Castell. They try and keep their colours the same across every product that they have. If you buy the Albrecht Dürer watercolour pencils, there's 120 of those and they're exactly the same colours as you would buy with the normal Polychromos pencils. Even their markers, their pit markers, the colours that they have there have the same names and they are the same colour as the pencils. They do their very best to match that up. So there's two schools of thought, and I just think that that's something that's worth mentioning. Okay, so we're going to do a little bit of testing now. So the first thing I want to do that I'm really curious about, this is actually the Artful cartridge paper that I've kind of got a thing for. So I have a range of pencils here that have the same colour names, and some of them have the same colour codes and others don't, which makes it even more confusing. So I've got the first one here is Walnut Brown, and I want to take a look at how they go down on the paper. Now for me, in my mind, the wax pencils should go down much better, much softer, and they should be smooshier than the oil-based pencils. Now that feels quite tight and dry when I'm putting it down. And here is the oil-based pencil. And looky here, look at the colour difference. They are two completely different pencils, although they share the same colour name. This feels a little bit richer, it feels softer and smoother, and that's one of the things that struck me when I was actually swatching these pencils out earlier. These are definitely the softest oil pencils I've ever used, without a shadow of a doubt. They're super soft. Some colours are softer than others, and again that's quite common just because of the different ingredients that they use to make up a certain pigment. Blues and greens tend to be a lot drier than reds and yellows. So if anything's going to be drying and scratchy, it would be blue, not red, for example. So this is really different, but these ones in particular, these have different colour codes. So not only the dipped ends are very different as well, but if I hold these up to their respective swatches, they've come on leaps and bounds with the dipped ends because that's fairly close. This is close too, but it's not as close as this one. It's a well-known fact that trying to get dipped ends to match swatch colours is notoriously difficult, so that's off to a good start. The next pair I've got here is the Ultramarine Light. Now these have the same colour code, and again the dipped ends look very different. The new gold pencils, so the oil-based pencils, it looks a lot lighter and it looks like it's got much more green in it if we go by the dipped end. Whereas when we look at the cores together, I'm really not sure at all what's going on, so we are going to find out. So I'm going to keep the wax base ones on this right hand side here, but look at that colour, like that is such a vibrant colour, it is absolutely lovely. And here is the oil based version, and unsurprisingly, or surprisingly I suppose for others, it does have more green in it and it's slightly lighter. And I would say the dipped ends match fairly well there, but those are two different colours, but there's not much in it. I don't know how much of a difference you can see on the camera, but this is definitely a warmer colour. And that felt much, much nicer going down on the paper than its wax counterpart. Here's one of my favourites, Terre Verde. Again, dipped ends, wowee, huge difference there. Same colour code. I really don't think the colour codes are justified. The cores look very similar though. But I don't think they should be allowed to give them the same colour code if they are two very different colours, even if they share a colour name. Now, they are quite similar. I can't tell whether the oil pencil is just going down better on this paper than the wax one. No, there we go, with a second layer. Slightly darker, again, not much in it, but the dipped ends. This one's significantly closer. So it goes to show you that a little bit of experience, perhaps, goes a long way in terms of... They're kind of having a do-over with these dipped ends, aren't they? Here we go. Here's a purple light, which looks very pink to me. This looks like fuchsia, but yeah, what do I know? And this is matching colour codes again. So little in it though. You know, to the untrained eye, or if you weren't really paying attention, you probably wouldn't be able to tell the difference between these. And again, I think they've just... I actually don't think either of these match the swatches particularly well. I would say the oil-based one's probably closer, and it's probably about as close as you're going to get, to be fair. Okay, let's go with another set then. We've got Vermilion. Again, same codes. Really nice, vibrant colour, and again, much softer pencil, and you can really feel it in that wax pencil. That is nice. Like, that feels good. Oh, and this is almost identical too, but it's just not quite. Oh, the oil-based one's slightly orangier there. Marigold. Vast improvement on the dipped ends, I think you'll agree, because this looks brown to me. And when we hold it up, this is very, very close. So we can see a pattern starting to form here with the dipped ends. The dipped ends on the Castle Arts Gold, so the oil-based pencils, that is actually giving us quite a good indication of what colour the pencil actually is. Whereas for our poor wax-based counterparts, you're getting stuck with a mousse like this. It's not really very helpful. So I think that Castle Arts have definitely learned some lessons. Right, let's carry on a little bit here. We've got the two cadmium yellows, again, dipped ends, very different. So let's go wax-based first. And see, that looks more like a Naples yellow to me, or even into an ochre. Oh no, I take it, that looks more like an ochre. Jeez. That doesn't look like cadmium yellow to me. I don't know how anyone else feels about that. But, yeah. Again, dipped end, very close for the gold pencil. Not so much. But for these two colours to have the same colour code, very different pencils. So if for example you already have the oil-based pencils and you think you might want to go and buy the wax-based pencils, absolutely go for it, because you're getting different pencils. But also erase all knowledge that you have of Castle Arts colours, because you're going to have to start again. Lemon Yellow Light. It's a lovely delicate colour. And again, a totally different colour. Look at the vibrancy difference there. Wow, that's a lot. And that actually stands to reason that they're matching. I've also got my wee test sheet for white pencils. Look, can you tell? I just want to compare these side by side. So these are both titanium white, and the oil-based one looks a bit more cream coloured than the wax-based one. So, want to see what's going on here. It's fairly good as well on this black paper. It's quite impressive. It's not bright white, but it's decent. Oh ho ho ho, now. I think we can agree that the oil-based pencil's performing a lot better. It might look more like it's dipped end on different coloured paper, just not this paper. But I don't see any hints of yellow in that at all. It actually looks very, very white. I'm impressed. I'm not impressed with the dipped end, but I'm impressed with the pencil. Okay, so there we go. That's just a little beginner sort of look at the differences between the colour ranges. And I'm sure you'll agree that for the most part, between the actual pencils, there's not a huge difference. But if you start looking at the dip 10s, that's when it gets confusing. But there are some instances where you're definitely getting a different colour. Yes, Marigold, I'm looking at you. The other thing as well is they're both really vibrant. There's a lot of pigment in there and there's a lot of laydown. And that's one thing that we cannot accuse Castle Arts of, is being stingy with their colour payoff. Like, everything feels very generous. Now, for a mid-range pencil, that's really good. That is what we want. So the two main things here, and I'm really interested to do this as well, the two main things aside from this comparison of colour is layering and blending, because that's the two things that we do with pencils, let's face it. And the tradition has always been that wax-based pencils are better for blending because they're slidey and smooshy, aka Prismacolors, and the oil-based pencils are a little bit firmer and they are better for building up layers, for mixing colours and depth of colour. That kind of goes out the window with some of these because I find these oil-based Castle Arts pencils very soft. So we're going to try both out and see what happens. So we're going to try a little blend. So I'll use the same technique for both pencils to try and keep the variables as tight as possible. And we're going to go from vermilion into cadmium yellow, simply because it's easy and we know we should have orange in the middle. You know, that takes all the guesswork out of this. I will try and remain as consistent as possible. I can't make promises, I'm only human. And plus as well, my hand's a bit dodgy today, honestly. It's so cold outside, we're forecast snow, and my hand's kind of like, you're funny, what do you think you're doing? The answer is no. So we'll see. So we've got a little overlap there. And I'm just going to start blending these out and see what happens in the middle. Very smooshy is the answer, very, very smooshy. Lovely. And the tips of these pencils, obviously when I'm blending I'm pressing a little bit harder. The tips of these pencils are just absolutely disappearing because these wax-based pencils are super soft. That's why they're called soft touch pencils. They are very similar to Prismacolor in consistency. They're maybe just not quite as soft, but they're not kicking the teeth off of it. And I've actually worn the point down on the cadmium yellow. So yeah, okay. And the idea is, well, we're supposed to go over this with our lighter colour, but yeah. So we've got a decent amount of smooshiness going on there. It's kept its vibrancy. It's not too muddy in the middle. I dare say with a little bit more work could have made that a wee bit tidier. But we've got a lot to get through today, guys. So same with the oil pencils, and let's see what happens here. And straight away, this feels softer. The laydown seems to be more vibrant. It seems to be better. And it feels softer and smoother. It definitely doesn't look smoother going down though. So let's see what goes on here. Just the colour just seems richer. Now that's interesting. It seems to fold into the red, the vermilion better. Like, they just seem to be a bit more accepting of each other there than what was going on up here. Oh, now. Let's get zoomed in. Let's get down to brass tacks here. I hope you can see that. I hope you all agree with me. There are some very deliberate and distinct marks there. You can see where I've crossed those pencils over with the wax-based pencils. The oil pencils just, like, literally slid into each other like a key in a lock. That's amazing. And yeah, like, I am super impressed with that. That's made me really happy. Right, we want to talk about layering now as well though. And again, traditionally oil pencils tend to do better for this, but see, everything's out the window with this. I'd just like to take a look at the points on these as well. These were sharp, other than these swatches here that I did earlier, which I wasn't pressing too heavily. But if I can just draw your attention to... Get you zoomed in a bit. Right, come on, autofocus. It's your time to shine. If you can look at the points on these pencils, yep, they are significantly worn. And this is just because they're soft pencils. This is not a bad thing. It is not necessarily a negative thing. It is the trade-off for really generous laydown, pigment load, something's got to give, and the answer is your core's just going to go whoop and disappear. Now, this poses a particular problem, and if you've watched any of my pencil videos before, my pencil review videos, one of the main things that is a bugbear for me is that most mid-priced pencil ranges, so the likes of these Castle Art pencils, Arteza pencils, Black Widow pencils, most of them do not have the option to buy open stock. So you buy a set of them, and then when one pencil runs out, that is it. It is game over unless you're prepared to buy an entire new set just to get that one pencil. And if you are a casual adult colorist, or maybe pencil isn't your primary medium as an artist, there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. And having a good set, a quality set of mid-price pencils is a great move if it's not a medium that you're using all the time, because you really won't be affected by that open stock problem. And if you do find there is one particular colour that you use a lot, you can find another brand and just use that one pencil from something that is open stock. That is not a problem. The problem comes if you are a mid to high usage type of person. Maybe adult colouring is your main hobby and you colour 3 or 4 pictures a week, and or pencil is your primary medium as an artist, because these are going to run down really quickly, and it then becomes a false economy because you're having to replace full sets, and you'll end up spending more money than you will if you pick a brand that's open stock. So that's just something to note, and it's very circumstantial, and everybody's needs and whether or not this is beneficial will very much be dependent on each of you. But it's up to me to point these things out for you so that you can make an informed decision, obviously. So I thought that was worth mentioning. So yeah, basically I'm going to have to sharpen these now, which brings me to my next test, because none of these pencils have been sharpened. And I'm going to use my Tagal sharpener. Now, because these are soft pencils, with most soft pencils, I tend to sharpen them on a number 2 setting. That's what I would use for my Prismacolors. So I'm going to push the envelope a wee bit, and I'm going to sharpen it on a 3. And it's just, I want a slightly longer point because I want to see if they will break or whether they crumble on impact on the paper. And there we go, first things first. Lost a lead straight away, it's gone, it's non-existent. So that's a breakage for the wax pencils straight off the bat. I'm going to have to try and fish this lead out here now. Normally when I have a breakage with a pencil like this, I edit out me trying to rescue it, because obviously it's tedious, it's not very exciting. But in this instance I am not going to do that because we need to know. Oh, this is bad. That is crumbly to the max in there. I could probably pick that out. This is the problem with soft pencils. Right, let's see what we can do to fix this if we can. No, there's just nothing happening. Look, it's just... wow. Okay, I'm going to go to a number 1 and try and rescue this. I'm just getting nothing. I'm just getting nothing. Oh, we're getting there. We're getting there. There's a point emerging. One thing to note, this one, the core's slightly off centre. You can see much more of the core colour is exposed on this side, and if I flip it over, there's only a tiny little bit on the other side. This happens in pencils, as long as it's not like every second or third pencil, it's not a quality issue. But that certainly won't be helping with the sharpening situation. So I've managed to get a little diddly point on that, and that was on a number 1, which is slightly disappointing, I have to say. I was kind of hoping for a bit better than that. Just making a mess. Like, all I've done is make a mess. It's fine. Okay, so that's that one. Oh, please God, let this one sharpen better. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to be brave. I'm going to try the cadmium yellow on a number 3 and see if we can get a point on it. Oh, regrets. Yeah, okay. Fabulous. So let's do some layering. So I'm going to use the side of the pencil here. And, well, this isn't going to go so well with our slightly lopsided pencil here, but we're going to try. And I'm going to count the number of layers. So that's 2. And I'm going to change the direction as well, just because of the texture of the paper. 4. So these are light layers. 5. And I'm just alternating between the red and the yellow. Also vermilion, sorry. I can feel we're starting to get to saturation point here. You know, I can feel it under my hand. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to get much more on there. Still taking it, to be fair. Okay, I think we might be done. Yeah, it's not taking much more now. Yeah, I think we're done there. Okay, that has given us a definite deep orange colour. Definitely deeper than what's going on here, and maybe even slightly deeper than what's going on here. So that's a reasonably good performance. I totally lost count of the number of layers. I will put it on the screen here though, because obviously I can go back and count it when I edit the video. And let's try with the oil-based pencils now and just see what's what with that as well. And make sure again I'm starting by giving these a little bit of a sharpen. Oh, now that's interesting. I've just gone to put the oil-based pencils in the sharpener, and I think these are a thicker barrel diameter because there's a bit more of a snug fit in my sharpener. So I rescind my statement at the beginning of this video, and that is sharpened. Like, that feels like a much more solid pencil in the sharpener as well. Like, I can feel it under my hand that it's just a much more robust build. And if you just take a look at the wood casing as well, this is smooth, this is torn up. So that's quite interesting as well. There is a possibility that these pencils are a better build quality. They are more expensive than the wax-based ones. That might have something to do with it. It might not. It might just be the way things are for the price of the pigments. And this red one here doesn't need as much of a sharpen, but we're going to do it anyway. Now, reminder, this is on a number 3 setting. So if I show you the difference between the point sizes, you know, this one's much shorter and stubbier, and it's to try and protect it so we can get a point. But we've got an absolutely gorgeous point on this vermilion pencil here from the oil-based set. So off we pop. One, I'll try and keep count this time. Okay, we're starting to struggle a bit, so time to start pressing a little bit harder. Whoa, stop chucking pencils about. I've lost count again, guys. I'm terrible at this. Like, my concentration span for stuff like that is awful because, well, basically I'm distracted by the pretty colours. Like, honestly, I just can't help it. I'm terribly sorry. Once again, if we're the consummate professional, you guys know it and you love it. Okay, I think I'm kind of reaching the end of the line. It's the end of the line. I feel like, yeah, that's us. We're done here. We can't get any more on the paper. Okay. I would say, apart from the number of layers, again, I've lost count. I don't know the difference at this point, so you can see that this is impartial. I actually prefer the lay down and the layering of the oil pencil as well as for blending. It's just more uniform. It has given us a very similar colour, but again, we established that the actual pencils themselves, there wasn't much difference in the original colour, so it's nice to see some sort of consistency when we're mixing pencils. But definitely, the oil-based pencils just are much nicer to use, and it's interesting because I do tend to favour oil-based pencils anyway. Polychromos are my go-to pencil, and I also really love the Derwent Lightfast pencils, but they're far too expensive to be doing things like this with. So there you have it. That is my initial assessment of these oil-based pencils from Castle Arts. I hope this has been helpful for some of you. It's certainly been interesting for me because until I had that comment under a YouTube video, I had no idea that these pencils were oil-based. I didn't actually know they existed. I just thought it was another, you know, like another fancy tin of the other Castle Arts pencils. So, overall impressions, yes, these are slightly more expensive. Good colour ranges across both sets of pencils, but unique colours in both sets as well because they are not the same. The build quality of the oil-based pencils seems to be far superior, but the layout and The layout and the colour chart inside the tin is just an absolute shambles, and that really, really annoys me because you can't change that. Like, that's printed onto the tin, there's nothing you can do about it. But overall, both pencils perform really well on cartridge paper in terms of blending and layering as well. But for me, the oil-based pencil is just that little bit in front, just a tiny little bit. And I would absolutely say that if you are a fan of squishy, creamy colour, then it's worth paying the extra $5 or whatever it is for. So that's like $6.50 US maybe, just thereabouts. Absolutely, I would say it's worth it. And I really enjoyed the wax-based pencils because they are still really soft, they are still really creamy, and they're a nice budget alternative to Prismacolors. But I think for those of you that are that sort of, you know, soft pencil purists out there, I think these oil-based ones, you know, would make you think again. So that is it for today, guys. If you have made it this far, number one, I hope you've been checking off your things on your bingo cards if you're playing along. Also, I hope that you gleaned some information from this that has been helpful or educational or whatever. I've had quite an interesting day doing this. I've used that word a lot today. I have a tendency to do that, though, I know that. So yes, you've made it this far. If you could stop for a moment and give this video a thumbs up, that would be super helpful. And I will see you back in the cave tomorrow for day 9 of Cavemas. Oh, we're getting through them now. Thanks for watching, everyone, and please enjoy the rest of your day, whether you are working, relaxing, or otherwise. See you tomorrow.